So basically the CEO just put a mic drop down. They just burned all of their arguments and hopefully they'll be able to acquire Grail. Wow, so the Illumina CEO just responded to the FTC's lawsuit of the Grail acquisition, and I have to say it's pretty impressive. So we're going to talk about the lawsuit, which starts August 24th. We're going to talk about the response from the CEO, and it's pretty impressive. And we're going to talk about the other two rivals and how this could impact your investing coming up. Hi Raylinaires, Supergirl Investor here to save the world and make you wealthy. Today we have a very exciting video and it's a response from the latest FTC lawsuit. Now Illumina, as you know, has been in another FTC lawsuit where they were trying to acquire PacBio. They were trying to partner up and get together with them. But unfortunately, there were many lawsuits, the government got involved, and that dissolved rapidly. So instead, the government is now attacking Illumina for its baby company, which it used to own, Grail, because Illumina wants it back, and the government is basically saying, whoa, you're going to have a monopoly with this one. So let's go over the lawsuit first. It says FTC challenges Illumina's proposed acquisition of cancer detection test maker Grail. Now, Grail is a huge leader in the liquid biopsy space. You'll notice that exas and ticker symbol GH are both the other two competitors in this space as well. The FTC has filed an administrative complaint and authorized a federal court lawsuit to block Illumina's $7.1 billion proposed acquisition of Grail. Now, Illumina does own about 14% of Grail, but they're trying to get it back. This is a maker of non-invasive early detection liquid biopsy tests that can screen for multiple types of cancer, so pan-cancer, at very early stages using DNA sequencing. Illumina is the only provider of DNA sequencing that is a viable option for these multi-cancer early detection, or MCED, tests in the United States. So already we're seeing some red flags with this. We are seeing that Illumina is the supplier of these tests and Grail is the liquid biopsy space. So when you put those two together, there's really not many competitors. Now, this is really surprising. You need to get early detection with cancers, and liquid biopsy is the way to do this. So the vast majority of cancers, which account for about 80% of cancer deaths, are only detected after patients exhibit symptoms. This is often too late to treat effectively. The MCED test is a game changer for cancer patients and their loved ones. If this acquisition happens, it would likely reduce innovation in this critical area of healthcare, diminish the quality of MCED tests, and make them more expensive. So essentially, the FTC has two arguments, and they're saying it's going to be a monopoly, so there's not much competition to create maybe even better liquid biopsy tests. And the second position is that they think the costs are going to rise exponentially. Now, if you remember insulin was very, very expensive, and that's because there's a monopoly with that as well. So the FTC is trying to get rid of that and essentially make this a free market. Basically, as Illumina is the only supplier of these, they can definitely increase the price of the NGS instruments. They can impede Grail's competitors' research and development efforts or refuse or delay executing license agreements that all MCED test developers need. And essentially, they said if another company tried to do this, it would take them years because they would have to start all over again with new instruments and they would have to have more clinical trials. Now, the Motley Fool actually brought up two very good ironies for this company. Basically, when they announced the acquisition for Grail, the stock price went down. And now that the FTC is trying to ban it, the stock price is still going down. So it's basically a lose-lose. Shares dropped 6.6% after the announcement. Then when you look back when they announced that they were going to acquire Grail, it fell 8.6%. Now, the second irony here is that they actually invented Grail in 2016 and decided to divest it and only own 14% of it. And they don't believe, or according according to Motley Fool, they don't believe that they would have made them divest it. The FTC wouldn't have. But now that they're trying to get it back, the FTC basically is saying, whoa, no, we can't have this happen. Motley Fool goes on to say, I think the clinical opportunities or where the growth opportunities lie for genetic sequencing. So this is bad news for Illumina. You only need to get your genome sequenced once, and cancer is really the exception to that. Basically, every company uses Illumina sequencing machines, and so now by owning Grail, Illumina is going to be the supplier to other companies that are also trying to develop these genetic tests, as well as competing directly against those companies. And so that's where the FTC is worried, and they should be. Illumina has committed to driving down the prices by more than 40% by 2025. Motley Fool goes on to say that no one really knows what's going to happen. I think Illumina's assurance, if it can really make a good argument that it will make its technology available to all players in liquid biopsy space that compete against Grail or will compete against Grail. And of course, with any good feud, we need to get both sides of the coin. So the CEO of life sciences company Illumina argued Thursday his company's deal to buy back Grail would lead to cheaper cancer tests, which was one of the big arguments, rather than potentially pushing up prices as the government alleged in seeking to block the $7.1 billion transaction. Basically, the CEO called this hopelessly speculative, which is very interesting. This acquisition provides huge benefits to people who may have cancer and don't know it. Grail is developing a blood test to screen for many kinds of cancer at early stages, and Illumina is the sole provider of the technology for the DNA sequencing needed for the test or for rivals designing a competing test. Now, this was a really fascinating response because the CEO also agreed about the monopoly, because the company has offered a 12-year contract to supply its technology to potential Grail rivals. He went on to say, our whole ethos as a company is to drive the price of sequencing down. So basically, the CEO just put a mic drop down. They just burned all of their arguments, and hopefully they'll be able to acquire Grail. Now, as far as investing is concerned, another rival actually just got an acquisition a few months prior called Exact Sciences, and they acquired a company called Thrive. Now, this is Grail's direct competitor. Now, instead of the $7.1 billion for Grail, it was actually $2.15 billion competing. So we will see where this goes. So much tension, but Grail published data in over 50 cancers, but Thrive beat them to a key test for liquid biopsy companies. So they're going head to head. And it goes on to say that in April, Thrive published results in Science that showed for the first time that a blood test could help doctors detect and treat multiple types of cancers in otherwise healthy people. Now, this was a huge milestone in oncology. And of course, Grail and Thrive are both saying they're trying to come together in a common goal. So they're really downplaying the competitive edge, unlike Ford. We won't talk about that. Both have pointed out that they will need to secure insurance coverage and reimbursement for a field that does not yet exist. So that's one of the potential risks along the way. Having multiple tests on the market could aid in that fight. So they're saying if both of them win, all of the boats rise. If one test fails, it could significantly hamper the effort. Exact Sciences says that Thrive could eventually be worth $25 billion. So this is the genomics space. I mean, we're talking huge returns for the leaders of these companies. That's why we need to pay attention to this, because we could see really great returns in the next 5 to 10 years, depending on which company we are invested in. So how does this affect the whole liquid biopsy space? What's going to come of this? And who are the competitors? So we have two other competitors. This is Exact Sciences that we just talked about, and Guardant Health. Both are in the colorectal cancer space right now, and they're both working for liquid biopsy space. TipRanks actually gives a 10% increase for Exact Sciences. It gives a 16% increase for Guardant Health, and only a 6% increase for Illumina. Morningstar actually said for the liquid biopsy space for the next 5 to 10 years could raise all of the leaders exponentially. First, Illumina, through its pending acquisition of Grail, could become the first mover and long-term leader in pan-cancer biopsies. Currently, we view its stock as reasonably priced for its long-term growth opportunities. So essentially, if they do win this huge FTC lawsuit, which won't even start until this summer, then they could be the top leaders in the liquid biopsy space. Now, Exact Sciences could challenge Illumina in pan-cancer in about 5 years. Of course, now that they have the acquisition with Thrive, it's even earlier. But before then, it will likely face competition from liquid biopsies in its legacy business, a stool-based test for colorectal cancer. This is the most viable direction to go in. This is what they are starting out with to get patients comfortable with liquid biopsies. And with their Thrive acquisition, they're kind of going head to head if Illumina acquires Grail. As the potential first mover in liquid biopsy for colorectal cancer, Guardant Health could threaten Exact Sciences and other traditional screening methods such as colonoscopy. So they're, again, one of the headstrong leaders in the space, and they have several products for the liquid biopsy space. So it's basically those three. Now, what I think is going to happen is that Illumina's price is going to fall dramatically if the FTC doesn't let them acquire Grail. Now, if it does let them acquire Grail, I think the price eventually will reach what its valuation should be. But until then, I would be wary of the stock and just go with Exact Science or Guardant Health as your number 1 and 2 option for liquid biopsy. They're both doing really great things right now. I hope you found this interesting. Now, I was very excited about the response of the CEO, and I think it makes total and complete sense for them to acquire Grail. I don't know if the FTC is actually going to let them, but it would make sense to give their company back to them. As far as what I'm doing, I'm a long-term investor in the liquid biopsy space. This is very exciting to me. I think it will explode in the next 5 to 10 years, and I'm currently a long-term holder in Exact Sciences and Guardant Health. So if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up, and of course comment below what you would like me to talk about next.